All right, so you guys wanted to know more about Tom Brady's approach to success, not just on the field, but in life. And well, we delivered. We found this incredible motivational speech he gave, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
And we're not just talking about the Super Bowl rings and the trophies. Okay, we're going deeper. We're getting into like what makes him tick, like what's his mindset.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about the speech. You hear about Brady's talent all the time, but this really highlights something else, his mindset and how he developed that mindset.
Yeah, okay. Let's break it down. What specifically struck you about his mindset?
Well, one thing he talks about over and over again is that he wasn't some kind of a prodigy. In fact, he actually starts that by saying he wasn't that good.
Wait, seriously.
Hmm?
This is Tom Brady we're talking about, like the GOAT. Are you telling me he wasn't always like amazing?
No, he talks about his freshman year of high school. He's a backup quarterback, and his team went 0-8. He couldn't even get on the field.
Oh, wow. That's a long way from the Tom Brady we know today. So how did he go from like bench warmer to breaking all these records?
Well, he started putting in the extra work. Like, he would wake up at 6 a.m. for workouts when nobody else was doing that. But even then, he faced setbacks, He lost the starting quarterback job multiple times, even in college.
So it wasn't just raw talent or some kind of like overnight success.
Nope, not at all. I mean, his whole journey seems to have been about constantly pushing himself, even when things got tough. Like, he talks about always having someone to beat, whether it was the guy ahead of him or the new recruit trying to, take his spot.
So like a healthy dose of competition, that's what fueled him.
Exactly. He used that drive to constantly push himself further. And that's something we could all, think about in our own lives, right? Like, where could a little healthy competition push you? Is it work? Is it a hobby? Or is it just like your personal goals? What could that look like for you?
Yeah.
I love that. It's not about being like cutthroat or anything, but just having that drive, to really reach your potential.
And that actually leads right into another key point Brady makes, which is discipline over fame. He really downplays natural talent and focuses on discipline and routine as like the keys to his longevity.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising to me. I mean, surely some natural talent has to be in the mix, right?
He does acknowledge some level of talent for sure, but he truly believes that it's the hard work and dedication that really separates the good from the great. There's this one example where he talks about actually taking less money to ensure he had a strong team around him. He prioritized winning over those individual achievements.
It's like he's saying, I can have all the talent in the world, but it won't matter if I don't have the discipline and the right people, to support me.
Exactly. It wasn't about the validation, the spotlight. It was about the process, the dedication, and just like that daily grind of getting better, being the best version of himself every single day. Which brings us to one of his most memorable quotes, which is, "Be proud of the man in the glass." I love that quote. What do you think he really meant by that?
I think it goes deeper than just, looking good physically. It's about setting your own standards and not chasing after what other people think you should be doing. It's like he's challenging us to ask ourselves, are we striving for something because it truly matters to us, or are we just caught up in what everyone else expects?
That's a deep question.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're just scratching the surface here. And already this is like so insightful. I can't wait to dive even deeper, into his approach to setbacks and growth.
It's funny how Brady actually reframes setbacks, like things that we normally see as like failures. He talks about losing the starting quarterback job multiple times, like in high school and college. And he says these were really tough times, but they actually ended up making him stronger.
So instead of letting those moments define him, in a negative way, he used them to fuel his fire.
Exactly. He didn't dwell on it or feel sorry for himself. He used those moments to push himself to work even harder.
That's pretty resilient, right?
Yeah.
Like, it seems he almost thrived on proving people wrong.
Yeah. Well, he even mentions being drafted in the 6th round. I mean, most people saw that as a major setback. But for him, it became this driving force. It's like he always had something to prove, know?
Yeah, that late round draft pick story, that's legendary. I think most people would have just been crushed, but he really used it to his advantage. It feels like there's a lesson in there for all of us, right?
Absolutely. What about you? What are some tough times that you've been through that, you could look back on and see as important learning experiences? Maybe it was a job you didn't get or a project that fails. Like, how can you reframe those experiences and see them as opportunities for growth?
Yeah, it's all about a mindset shift, right? Instead of like dwelling on the negative, you try to see what you can learn from it. How can you improve? It's like turning those like perceived failures into stepping stones.
And that's exactly what Brady did, and he did it really well. I mean, he took those setbacks and he turned them into fuel for this incredible success.
But it doesn't seem like it was just about proving other people wrong, right? There
Yeah.
was something more. Like he talks about playing for the name on the back of his jersey, for his family, the people who've always supported him.
Right, and that's where we see the intrinsic motivation coming through. It's not just about fame or awards. It's something much deeper than that, something personal.
Like a sense of purpose,
Well,
something beyond himself.
exactly. It was about living up to his own standards, making those who believed in him proud.
Yeah, that makes me think back to that quote about being proud of the man in the glass. It all kind of ties together.
Yeah.
It's all about that inner drive, that commitment to being the best you can be, no matter what anyone else thinks.
Absolutely. It's like he's saying, look, it doesn't matter what the world thinks, as long as I'm proud of the effort I'm putting in.
And that's such a strong message for anyone, striving for success in any area of life. It's about playing the long game, not just looking for those quick wins.
Yeah, he actually talks about how he saw himself as someone with like sustainable traits,
Mhm.
work ethic, discipline, rather than like someone who was just naturally gifted. And it's really interesting because he understood that, talent can only take you so far. It's that hard work and dedication that really sets people apart.
He makes a great point about discipline. He asks, can you exercise for one day?
Yeah.
Sure, but can you do it for a week, a month, a year?
And that's the hard part, right? It's not about that like one-time burst of motivation. It's about building those habits that you can actually stick with.
And Brady's story is so powerful because it really shows us that greatness, it's not usually about being some kind of natural talent. It's about the choices you make every day.
Yeah.
It's about showing up and putting in the work, even when it's hard, even when you face setbacks.
It's about having that drive, something deeper than just what other people think of you, and being proud of the person you are, knowing that you're giving it your all every single day.
That's a perfect point, I think. I think this is a good place to transition into our last part. We've talked about so much about Tom Brady's mindset, from those early struggles to his resilience and his dedication to discipline. Okay, so we're wrapping up our deep dive on this Tom Brady speech, and I don't know about you, but I feel like we've got like this blueprint for success. And it's not just for athletes, it's for anyone.
Totally. I think it's such a relatable story because it shows us that anyone can achieve great things if they're, willing to put in the effort, embrace challenges, and just like stay true to themselves.
It's not about like being born with some special talent or anything. It's about, taking what you have and pushing yourself to the limit, finding that inner drive that keeps you going when things get tough.
And one thing Brady really pushes us to think about is discipline. Like he asks, if you had my level of discipline for a whole year, what could you achieve?
Oh, I mean, that really makes you think, like, what could you actually accomplish? What goals could you reach? It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be some crazy huge goal. It could be something simple, like building a good habit or learning a new skill, or even just like finishing a project you've been putting off. The important thing is to start small.
So what's one tiny thing you can do today to start building that discipline that'll like help you reach your goals?
Yeah.
We're not talking about a massive change here, just small, consistent choices.
Exactly. It's about making those little choices day after day, and eventually they'll lead to big changes. Remember, Brady didn't just like become successful overnight. He had setbacks, he had obstacles to overcome, but he stayed disciplined and he learned to reframe those challenges, and that's what helped him succeed.
And he never forgot about that, man in the glass. It's about being proud of yourself, being proud of the effort you're making, even when no one's watching.
Exactly. And that's what's so inspiring about his story, right? It reminds us that greatness isn't some like magical thing that only some people have. It's a choice we make every day.
So yeah, like go out there, be proud of who you are, take on those challenges, learn from your mistakes, and just like never stop pushing yourself to be the best you can be. And until next time, keep diving deep, keep striving for your own version of greatness.